One cold winter evening, the wind whistled through the small alleys of the city. Heavy snow falls, covering the old roofs and quiet streets. In a hidden corner near an abandoned bus station, there are three children huddled together, trying to warm themselves with a torn blanket they picked up from a trash can. The eldest, Lily, is only 12 years old, but has learned to protect her two younger siblings like a real mother. She hugged her 6-year-old brother, Ben, and her little sister, Emma, was only 4 years old. Lily's eyes did not have the innocence of a child, but only worry, fear, and a glimmer of hope in this harsh world. Sister, I was so cold that Emma snuggled into Lily's lap, her voice trembling. Lily pulled up the blanket and hugged her tighter. Just a little more, Emma. We'll be fine. But Lily wasn't sure if that was true. It's been 3 days since they had a decent meal. Their mother died of illness last year, and their father left a long time ago. No one is looking for them. No one knew they existed in this cold, dark corner of the city. Ben looked up at his sister, his eyes clear but full of fatigue. Sister Lily, will we have anything to eat tomorrow? Lily smiled, a wry but still gentle smile. Sure, Ben, I will find a way. But how? The trash cans are now full of frozen debris. The people on the street were all hurriedly passing by. No one noticed the three children huddled in the corner of the wall. Lily didn't blame them. People have their own lives, have families, and have other worries. But sometimes someone stops, just once, to see kids like you. The whipping wind was stronger, and Emma wept softly. Lily bit her lip tightly, trying not to let the tears fall. Suddenly, a pair of shoes stopped in front of them. An elderly woman, wearing a thick coat, bent down to look at the three children. Her eyes were full of worry and tenderness. "What are you doing here?" she asked, her voice as warm as a fire in the middle of winter. Lily looked up, her eyes skeptical. "It's been a long time since anyone asked about them. We don't have a home," the little girl whispered. The woman was silent for a moment, then gently took off her scarf, wrapped it around Emma, and then took out a loaf of bread from her bag and handed it to Lily. "Eat it, kids." Lily looked at her, her little trembling hands clutching the cake. She had never believed in miracles, but perhaps tonight, in the midst of the harsh winter, a miracle really happened. Lily carefully divided the bread into 3 pieces, handing it to Ben and Emma first. Her younger siblings took it eagerly, their eyes lighting up with a joy they hadn't felt in a long time. Emma took a small bite, then quickly devoured it, as if afraid the bread would disappear if she ate too slowly. The woman sat down beside the 3 children, ignoring the snow-covered ground beneath her. She gently asked, "How long have you been here?" Lily tightened the tattered blanket around her shoulders, hesitating before answering. "A while. We used to have a home, but now we don't." Lily tightened the tattered blanket around her shoulders, hesitating before answering. "A while. We used to have a home, but now we don't." The woman sighed softly. "Has no one come looking for you?" Lily shook her head. "No one." The woman gazed at the children before her, and her heart ached. They were far too young to carry such burdens. Looking at them, she thought of her own son, the boy who had once been so full of energy, but had since grown up and built a life of his own. She often worried about what would happen if one day, when she was no longer around, her son found himself in need. Would someone help him? And if she hoped that kindness would find her son, then shouldn't she extend that same kindness to these children? "My name is Margaret," she said with a warm smile, her voice as soothing as a lullaby. "I have a small house, not big, but warm. Would you like to come with me?" Lily froze. Go with a stranger? Her mother had always warned her never to do that, but now her mother was gone. And did those warnings even matter anymore, when another freezing night could mean the end for them? Ben looked up at her, hope shining in his tired eyes. Emma clung tightly to the scarf Margaret had wrapped around her, as if it were the most precious thing in the world. Illy searched the woman's face. She saw no pity, no deceptionally genuine kindness and concern. At last, Lily nodded. Margaret's smile deepened. Then let's go, my dear. Don't worry. You won't have to be cold anymore. She reached out her hand, waiting. Lily took it, and for the first time in years, she felt a warmth she had almost forgotten. That night, the children no longer slept in the bitter cold. They followed Margaret to a small home where a fire burned warmly, where clean beds awaited them, and where a kind-hearted woman was ready to give them a new chance at life. And for the first time in a long time, Lily believed in miracles again. As Margaret led the children through the quiet streets, Lily held Emma's hand tightly, making sure her little sister stayed close. Then walked beside her, occasionally glancing up at the woman who had so suddenly appeared in their lives. His small fingers gripped the edge of his ragged coat, as if still unsure whether this was real or just another fleeting dream. The journey wasn't long, but every step felt heavy with uncertainty. Would this woman truly help them? Or would she change her mind once they arrived? Lily had learned the hard way that hope could be dangerous. It was a feeling that, once broken, hurt worse than hunger or cold. Finally, they turned a corner, and Margaret stopped in front of a small, cozy-looking house. A dim light shone from the window, casting a golden glow onto the snow-covered ground. Smoke curled lazily from the chimney, carrying the scent of something warm and inviting. Margaret unlocked the door and pushed it open, stepping aside so the children could enter first. Come in, my dears. Let's get you warm. Hesitant but exhausted, Lily led Ben and Emma inside. The warmth hit them immediately, making their frozen limbs tingle painfully. The small living room was simple but welcoming. A fireplace crackled with soft orange flames. A rocking chair sat in the corner, and a thick, knitted blanket was draped over the couch. Emma, still clutching her scarf, looked up at Margaret. Is this your house?" she asked softly. Margaret smiled, closing the door behind them. "Yes, sweetheart. And now it's your home too, at least for as long as you need it to be." Lily's breath caught in her throat. A home? The word felt foreign on her tongue, as if it didn't belong to her anymore. Margaret walked over to the kitchen, her movements gentle but purposeful. "You must be hungry. Let me make you something warm to eat." Ben, who had remained quiet, finally spoke up. "Why are you helping us?" His voice was cautious, not quite trusting yet. Margaret turned to face him, her expression soft but serious. "Because no child should have to sleep in the cold, and because a long time ago, someone helped me when I had nowhere else to go." Lily's eyes widened slightly. You were like us?" Margaret nodded, stirring a pot of soup on the stove. "I was." She paused, glancing back at them. "And because of one kind person, my life changed forever. Now I want to do the same for you." A heavy silence filled the room, but it wasn't the kind of silence that came from loneliness or fear. It was something different, something warmer, something safer. Lily looked down at Emma, who had curled up on the couch, her tiny body finally relaxing. Ben was still watching Margaret, his sharp eyes trying to figure out if this was too good to be true. And Lily? For the first time in years, she allowed herself to believe that maybe, just maybe, they had finally found a place where they belonged.